we are excited to kick off the first webinar of 2025 with our special guests from Aurora. We got Laura West, we got Jordan Walters, and as usual, our usual suspects here. I'm your host, Danny O'Malley, Director of Marketing, Andy Schwartz, VP of Sales Ops, and Brandon Barton,
Yo,
Director of Dealer Support. Your usual partners in crime. We have a great lineup again. Laura is going to train us all or just refresh us all. Hopefully, this is not necessarily brand new to everybody, but if it is, your minds are about to be blown. So just get ready.
All right. Jordan was actually going to kick us off. Jordan, did you want me to start with slides or would you like to?
if you want to go ahead and drive, I can give us a quick intro just to say hello to everybody and give everybody kind of a high level of the shift and the really exciting stuff to come. So hey everybody, my name is Jordan. I'm an enterprise account executive here with Aurora Solar. I've been with the company, just started my 5th year with Aurora, grown a lot, and our tools have just really surpassed industry expectations, and we continue to be an industry leader. So, the partnership with Energy Service Partners is bringing Aurora in a really impactful way to you and your team to drive your sales processes, both pre-sales and also helping the team on the operations and fulfillment side. So really high level, just before we dive in, what Aurora Solar is going to bring to the table for you guys is an incredible set of tools in our kind of sales driven suite called Sales Mode. And it's going to drive accuracy first and foremost, which is kind of the cornerstone and foundation of what Aurora Solar is and what we provide. But then it's also simplicity and speed. And so this is going to allow you guys to really create, 3D site models incredibly fast, have a lot of consistency with your designs. One thing I like to share is like what you design is what you sell. And that's not always the case with other tools. And this is just going to build a lot into your process, allow you guys to quote with a high degree of accuracy and consistency, customization as well, and really be able to overcome a lot more objections and move through your sales cycle just exponentially faster, to drive those sales. And, I think aside from that, on the operations side, there's going to be a lot more sped up for Energy Service Partners as well. A couple things I'll speak to here is that Aurora over the years has, really been arguably the most heavily validated platform. So what does that mean? Financing institutions, now we see that play out in the TPO or PPA space. They rely on Aurora's accuracy in order to say like, hey, this is what we're going to take. This is bankable. This is something we're happy to finance because we know the production estimates that are coming out of Aurora are spot on. We've seen that through an NREL validation study that was done, private studies over the years, rebate authorities. There's a lot of examples of that. And now more than ever, we have this really great integrated tools with TPO partners so that your production is exactly what they're looking for. It's meeting those criteria that allow you to close and sell those deals. And that's a really, really important piece because, we want you guys to be able to not miss a beat when you're out there talking to customers, answering questions for those customers, and also have these really cool interactive tool set to be able to do that along the way. So we're going to dive into what more that means today. Laura's going to take you through, some really cool kind of live demo space stuff today. But like high level, that's what I would share as far as, what Aurora really brings to the table. And it's really excited to bring this to you guys and get this to market. A lot of support here on both sides. That's Aurora's side, but then like, Danny, Brandon, Barton, Andy have all been just really key players in helping, cultivate, curate the solution for you guys and make sure that it's something that we have that's going to drive your success. And then the last thing I'll mention is this is coming on the heels of a really successful launch in Texas with dealer partners as well. So just know that this is something that we've worked really, really hard over the last, 8 or 9 months now to bring to market in Texas. And this is something we're really excited to see, come to market for you guys as well. So excited to have everybody here. Laura, I'll pass it off to you.
Great. All right. Here we go. And let me share my screen. First of all, everyone, thank you so much for joining me on your Friday morning. And for all those in Southern California, please know that our hearts are going out to you. So when you open up Aurora, you are landing on this page that we call the project page. And this page will show you the projects that are related and assigned to you. Please note throughout this demo that I'm signed in as an admin, so I will have more buttons and options than you will as a user. So the first thing that I want to just call out right here is there is this little thing in the corner right here. This is a life vest. And if you click on this, it gives you information to what's new coming out of Aurora, our help center. So if you click on this, you can jump into our help center where it has all sorts of wonderful information. But what I really wanted to call out is that there's Aurora Academy. And if you just go here, you can create your account. But once you log on to Aurora Academy, we have all these wonderful courses that are relevant to you guys. So I'd say the biggest ones for you guys is Sales Mode 101. And you can jump into this if you have any questions about the flow. You can watch it at 2x speed, etc. But it really gives you a nice overview of Aurora and how to use it. So please know that this is a resource, and I think this might be required by your team. Another thing that I wanted to call out is that Aurora also has support. So we have live chat, which is available 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. on the all days except for Sunday, and on Sunday it's available 6 a.m. to noon. So you have that accessible, and then also you can submit a live request here for kind of a question that you are going to do over email. And then there's just some quick onboarding guides if you have any questions about that. Andy, I saw that you had a question.
Yeah, just a heads up here on the live chat. The live chat's awesome. One of the best places you can use that for is if you're having an issue with getting logged in, the live chat can be like a really useful tip in getting into the system.
That's also going to be better than trying to reach out to somebody on our end for, say, like immediate technical issues like, hey, I'm getting this weird error when I'm trying to load up a specific, project or loan type or something like that. It'd be way easier to chat with somebody who's already in the system and can kind of, look at it with you right there than try and raise one of us and have a troubleshoot.
Exactly. Because guess what I'm going to do when you reach out to me and you say, hey, I got an error? I'm actually going to chat in.
Reach out to the live chat? That's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, sorry, take it away. I love the live chat. Thanks.
No, yeah, wonderful. And then the other thing I wanted to just note here is that there's this little bell, and if you request to have an expert design, this will send you notifications about or plan sets or something like that. This will give you information that where Aurora is on sending that back. And you can also see here that these are different, this so that the design was accepted or the design was completed. You can also see these different statuses here. So what are we here for? We're here to design projects, to build CAD models to see where to put glass on roofs. So the first thing that I'm going to do when I'm on this page is I'm just going to jump to new project. And so it lands on this page, and then you'll just put in an address. So this is an address in California that I like to use, and you can name the project. And so the suggestion is I'd probably use a customer's name or a name that you will remember. The property type, of course, is going to be residential, and then you'll select whichever team that you're going to be on. I'm going to select this one or the organization, and if you need to be on a particular team, I'm just going to stay on no team right here, but this is how you would start your process. One thing that's important to note is you can see that this pink dot is over the correct house. About, I don't know, 5 to 10% of the time, the pink dot maybe isn't over the correct address. You always want to have it over the correct address and the correct home. So that's something you cannot change once you move from this screen. And this is how Aurora is charging credits, so you really want to get that right. So from here, I'll just go to create. And you'll see here, I was playing around in your account already, that there is the ability to show that another project was already created. So just know if you receive this pop-up to please reach out to your admin or to actually go to that existing project. Because for this demo, I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to just create a new project anyway. All right. So now you land on what we call the project dashboard. And you can see that there's icons on the left-hand side for you to take actions along with in this dashboard here. So I like to use this dashboard here to just enter in the customer's information. It's very important, particularly if you're using a TPO product, that you enter in all of this information. If you don't have this information, it will not actually accept it. So just know that that's really important for those TPO products. Right here, you can see the AHJ, so you can view it to make sure that it's correct. And then you can either go directly into sales mode from here, or you can go back to the dashboard. I like to enter in the energy usage before I jump into sales mode, but it's really, you got to pick your own adventure here. So from here, I'm going to select energy usage. And this gives you information on the pre and the post solar rate. This data is pulled from a third party called Genability, where it's going to guess what they think is the best rate for the region. So you can play around and see the different rates if there are different ones. So maybe we think that this is a better post solar rate, et cetera. You can select that. Additionally, you can jump in and see more information about the rates should you have any questions about this rate, time of use, et cetera. From here, and also when you're using TPO products, of course, they have pre-approved utility rates, et cetera, that you need to make sure that you're hitting those topics on. Along with, they're going to have a required escalation rate. So my understanding is that 4% is what you should have for all of your projects. All right, so now we get into entering in their information about their bills. So as Jordan started off talking about, Aurora is known for your accuracy. And so the more information that you can put in about your customer's bill, the better. Because you guys are all in California, you might have the interval data or the green button data that you can implement, that you can upload here. And so if that customer has that 100% uploaded, it's a really easy process to do. I would add that. But hey, this customer actually doesn't have it, so I'm going to manually input it. And you do have a few other options. You can do monthly average, annual energy estimate. I would strongly recommend that you use the monthly average and enter in as much information as you have, just to give yourself a more accurate outcome on talking about their energy offset, et cetera. So you can see here, this is the dates that I entered in, but you can enter in the whole 12 months. So the more information you have, the better for entering in this. All right, so now from here, I'm just going to jump into sales mode, and I'm just going to create a new design. Pretty easy. And so now we're taken to a new screen called sales mode. And this is where Aurora does most of their proposal and entering in information, making the CAD design, et cetera. So from here, you have these icons at the top. So if you had just wanted to jump into sales mode, you could have entered in the energy usage here already and adjusted the current usage here. Whenever you're in sales mode, you're always going to have these icons up here. So from here, I'm going to jump into the system design. All right, so I can see that this is a really nice Eagle View model here. And just a few features that I wanted to talk to you about on this page. So down here, you have these buttons and you can turn on their radius. So this is going to show, actually, I think I need to do, this is going to show, I need to actually have the CAD model drawn first. So I'll actually do that first. So the first thing when you're on this page is you're actually just going to run Aurora Roof AI. And this is going to use imagery and LiDAR to create a 3D CAD model of the house. So with what LiDAR is essentially they fly planes over and they shoot down lasers, which is always fun to say that, to make these, to determine where the houses are. And so Aurora uses that information to make these 3D CAD models. So you saw that took about 15 seconds. And right here, I have this like really beautiful 3D CAD model of this home. And so down here, you have the option to keep the design or delete the design. So it is AI, it is, doesn't always get things correct. So let's say, for example, that there was a huge tree on this house, overhanging this house, and therefore the lasers had a problem understanding what the roof height was, and it looks a little bit funky. You don't have to keep this design, you would just hit delete. For this example, I'm going to keep this design, and I'll also talk about what we do if you don't want to keep it. So from here, it's saving the design, and you can also see that we have the setbacks, et cetera here. If you decided that you didn't like the design here, you would just select request an expert model. There's two different options on this. There's an expedited. So if you're about ready to go to appointment, otherwise just do the regular one. Aurora has a 3-hour turnaround time, but they often greatly exceed that. So, and yeah, so always their response time is very quick with building these models.
Yeah, just to quickly jump in there, guys, just the big difference here that we want to call out and just reiterate for you. The go-to preferred method always, first and foremost, is going to be via AI. Okay, it's typically going to prompt you to run AI right at the beginning. So this is generating a site design. And once again, just to reiterate that as well, that's pitch of the roof, that's height of the building, that's identifying those obstructions, those shapes, all that stuff typically gets handled by AI. If that design is ever not acceptable to you or erroneous or weird in some type of way, you would need to delete that, say like, I don't want AI, right? And then our expert modeling service is our human design service. Okay, so that's a human being that's going in and generating those designs for you for that site design. Just wanted to kind of clarify the difference between the two, and you can see that you'll be kind of moving through a series of steps with those icons on the left-hand side there. That first one, that's a home with a little plus on it. That's your site design button, and Laura will take you from there.
If
Thank
I
you so
was
much, Jordan. Sorry.
I was just going to jump in real fast too. I think here's a really good point to call out how you want to sell or what your like particular strategy is. Some of these times, some homeowners, I should say, are going to be really, really impressed by seeing their home in 3D for the first time. And so that AI button right there, like if you're confident enough that it's not a crazy roof that is going to require an expert design, having that experience with the homeowner like right there in front of you, I think could be really, really powerful if you feel good about that. You can also prepare way ahead of time, hours or days in advance and get everything set up. Totally dealer's choice, up to you how you want to do it. So
Wonderful. Thanks so much. Okay, so from here, I'm just going to play around with these buttons here. So I had previously spoken about seeing the irradiance. So this is going to show essentially where the best sun is hitting this roof and where we're most likely to put modules on the roof. Shockingly, we anticipate that the southern roof faces will be the place where we're most likely to put panels on, but we're going to see what it comes back as. The lighter the color, the better the sun access on the house. So you can see here, this house is perfect for solar. There's a lot of roof faces. And of course, the darker the color, so if we start to see like purples to blacks, those wouldn't be areas to place on modules. Additionally, you can come over here to look at the LiDAR. So this is showing, again, what we spoke about, the planes flying over that are making those 3D. So you can see not only this house, but the other houses and all the shading factors that Aurora is taking into account. You can see that the fence lines, this big tree and how that might be affecting the house. You can see on this one, it doesn't actually. Additionally, and this is something that homeowners really like to see, is the sun path. So this is showing how the sun is going over your home, either in the month of the year or the hour of the day. So again, this is just kind of talking to the homeowner about, Aurora is the most accurate model, or I'm selling you the most accurate model. And this is how the sun will actually go over your house. And this is how, you're going to be producing that energy.
Yeah, just to quickly jump in here as well, guys, what you'll see if you click on the hour instead of the month, you'll see the sun path in the sky as it kind of moves over. Yeah, that's going to be your sun path. Another cool thing to show here is, and again, we always kind of touch on the accuracy of Aurora. If she were to zoom in right now, really close to the home, using the scroll feature on, her mouse, or if you're using an iPad or tablet, you can zoom in. But you can actually see the shadows kind of moving over the home. You can even get a little closer and see it. But other cool stuff as you toggle in 3D, you can really lean into this, right? You can see the solar availability even up against the obstructions. If you have a chimney on a house, even though you don't see trees represented in this model, we actually have a feature that's happening right now in every single one called LiDAR shading. So if she zooms in here and there's a gigantic, let's just say palm tree on the south part of the property, right? And that's affecting the shading. You are going to see the shading of that brought into that model. So just leaning into that accuracy a little bit, it's just a great way to help solidify that confidence in the model that you're creating with your customers, and just kind of driving your sales experience and process. You will see, if you ever request an expert design from our in-house team, you will see those trees built into the model. The cool thing is you'll still always have the right shading regardless. So if you don't see, if you run AI, you don't see the trees. If she zooms in right now, you can probably see some shading on the south part of that roof from like a structure that's right there, some type of tree that's really close to the edge of the roof. So you're still going to capture that accuracy from an irradiance standpoint.
Yeah. I think this is one of the crucial reasons that we pivoted to Aurora, guys. We saw a lot of change orders last year, and change orders we know require re-signs, and re-signs are tough to get. So by pivoting to Aurora, this is going to affect your timelines in a good way. NTP will be successful. And all the lenders are leaning on Aurora. They're all inside the platform for API configuration. That means they trust Aurora. So
we have been using Aurora on every job for at least a couple of years. It just now we're doing it at the very beginning, which makes sense. So
yep.
Great. So from here, now we're actually going to show what it looks like when you put modules on the roof. So in the back end, your wonderful team has set up some bumper rails and guidelines on where they want these panels to go on the roof. So I'm going to just select this. You can select the orientation if it's important, if you know that it matters or doesn't matter. And then you can also decide if you want to have a filler row. And from here, you just hit place. And you can see here that these purple lines show up. These are fire pathways. So Aurora's automatically putting in the jurisdiction setbacks that are required for this AA. And so now, voila, you automatically have these modules on your house. I didn't call this out before, but you can see Aurora's actually going for a solar offset of 100%. And so now you can see that this homeowner has actually 102% annual energy offset. You can see their annual usage and their annual production. You can also see a little bit of information about their system. So let's say, for example, that the homeowner says, I really actually wanted to have more modules, over here, and you can actually toggle these on and off. And you can see that Aurora is doing quick math right here to turn these on and off. However, once you've decided that you finalize the design, so I'm going to just go back to what we originally had, I'm going to hit finalize. And it's actually going to run our simulation engine on the back end. And instead of doing that kind of quick math, it's going to take into the account the sun exposure for each one of these particular modules and to get your total energy offset. You can also see that these little things were added on. So the microinverters were actually already automatically added on for this house. And so the simulation engines are running on the back end.
Super cool. One thing too, and Laura probably already mentioned this, right? But in the very beginning, when we were looking at that energy consumption profile, that kind of dashboard view of the project before we jumped into sales mode, she called out that there's an AHJ jurisdiction assigned to that. So we have a database that's associated there. And as you guys can see too, just to reiterate this point, it's really, really cool, right? You'll see those AHJ fire code setbacks pop in automatically. That's specific to each address, to each county, to each city. So just again, furthering your ability to sell with confidence and design with confidence.
Great. And you can also see information here about this overall for this home, what their annual radiance is. And so you can see that this has it's a really great house for solar. Additionally, if you wanted to put a ground mount, you can put it here. And if you needed to actually add the microinverters or to string it, you could do that automatically here. For this case, it doesn't matter because the microinverters were automatically added. So from here, I'm going to click done. And now I'm going to jump to storage. As you all know, we're in California. You're selling with batteries. And so from here, you have the batteries already loaded in the back end. And so I'm just going to select a battery to add. If you need to select an inverter, you can do that. And then you would select the operating mode of the battery. You can talk to the consumer about, the backup that you have, essentially the whole home. But in general, they're going to be using energy arbitrage. But per the different TPOs, they might have different storage operating modes that they request you to set this at. So just make sure that you're looking into that. So you can see here, we're putting in the cost of the battery. And what this is going to show is this is a graph to talk to the homeowner about why they want storage, right? So it's going to give you your price for both just solar only. This is your utility bill plus solar plus battery. So you can see in these months when you're going to be producing more and why it would be beneficial to get a battery. Also, if you select on this is talking about how we're using your battery and when it's charging, and then when it's also exporting to the grid, and then when it's using the battery themselves to consume. So this is kind of talking to the customer about when they'll be using it and how that will work.
Hey, Laura, do you mind if I jump in here? And
yeah.
For everyone else on the call, my name is Jason Miller. I also work at Aurora Solar. I've just been a fly on the wall here. But in terms of this energy usage, especially for projects in California, explaining energy arbitrage can sometimes be a little confusing. What I typically do is, Laura, if you don't mind changing the month to September, that's usually what's going to show the best visual example of how this is looking to maximize financial returns by setting that battery operating mode. You'll see that in the 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. hour right there, even though the battery is at a state of charge of 61%, we actually are deciding to hold on to that capacity and wait to export it during that 8 p.m. block, because that's when the utility company is compensating the homeowner at the highest clip. So it's able to build in that logic to know, hey, it's more financially advantageous for the battery to hold on to that energy, export during that 1 hourly interval, and that's going to maximize return. So I think September is usually a really good visual example to explain this to homeowners as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Jason.
That's really cool. I have no idea.
Yeah, last thing I'll tag on to this, guys, is if you jump back to utility bill savings as opposed to daily usage, like when you change the quantity, if for example you're seeing like, hey, great, that's a nice little bit of savings there, but let's see what happens if we add a second battery and we just click that. It's actually going to just live update everything, right? So you'll be able to see that adjusted solar plus battery, and if there's some advantageous kind of savings, this could help drive your ROI, help them recoup their investment a little bit faster if you see that there's a more positive impact there. So just gauge that with your team. I think it was 180 before, so it jumped down another, call it $70 per month. So, gauge that with your team on what the most ideal designs and kind of preferred batteries are per home. But just want you guys to know that, all that stuff's going to update live. So really cool, interactive, kind of educational tool that you can empower your customers with.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, I'd like to, this page is really important, guys, right? We're talking about batteries here. So let's talk about best practices. Currently, when ESP sees your operating mode as energy arbitrage, anything higher than 0% will reflect as a partial demand to ESP. That will be your setup when we go to install. So make sure if you're thinking self-consumption, you leave that at 0%. But if you want partial backup and beyond, update that bad boy to maybe 10%, 20% for reserve.
Great. All right. And then from here, you would go to the pricing page. And this will depend on what type of financing you're using for the customer. If you will want to add on, if you need adders or you need to adjust the price per watt. So you can see that there are some adders that are already that might be put on that you can either adjust. So you can see that there's flat adders. You can also potentially here update the price per watt. But again, if you're doing TPO, these don't matter because you're not pulling the information in. That way you're pricing it per kilowatt hour. And this also breaks down and gives you information about the system price per watt with storage, gross prices, etc. So just kind of showing you how Aurora is calculating those numbers. And you can also see that you can do it with discounts and if there were any discounts that you wanted to add or incentives. So from here, now we're going to go to the important part, which is understanding the pricing. So this is going to give you information about the total system costs and the net costs if you were just doing cash, but you have all sorts of different ways to do pricing. So let's say I were to use a dividend loan and Aurora's pulling this information and I can pull in, this loan here. All right. And you can see now that it's updating it to show this loan. And you can also see that you can toggle on and off either a down payment or you can use the tax credit to pay down the loan. So if I were to toggle that off, you can see how it would affect the customer's monthly payments. So this is a really great another educational tool if they're going to be qualified for the ITC to talk to them about how they might want to use that to pay down the loan. Additionally, Aurora has the option to actually compare. And in the proposal, if you select this will actually include those different comparisons in the proposal. But so you could also just compare what this looks like to cash or to another financier should you want to. So I was going to also show you what it looks like for the TPO products. I actually, because I am an Aurora user, I don't have a login to your guys' Infin account, your LightReach account, etc. So I need to actually jump into a tutorial that will show you how this will work. So I have this selected up, but this is the same screen. So you would just go to select next. And you would select do the drop down of Infin. And from here, it would allow you to pick the solar rate, which would be the estimated monthly payment for the homeowner. Does this screen look, you guys recognize this screen? All right. And then from here, you would hit next. And you can see it's talking to you about the system yield, the pre-solar rate, etc. And then you would just hit save. And then it would allow you, if you wanted to edit it, you could edit it from there. And then from here, you can compare, the different options if you'd like to include that in the proposal. And then when you're ready to apply, it will just automatically jump you into either the LightReach or Infin system to start doing that credit application.
Yeah, I think a key point here is that this may or may not be customer facing depending on your selling type. It's important that you bring up each TPO product that you think might be relevant for your sale and compare against each other. It could be a difference of 5 cents, 10 cents. You don't know, but whatever best interest of the homeowner and pricing. So yeah, this attribute from Aurora is huge, guys. Lean on it.
Great. So I'm going to jump back here. So let's say that this is the number that we decide to show them that they want to go with this loan here and that they're going to use a down payment for here. So now I can click on this to look at the proposal. And so now this is a proposal with the customer, and I can either scroll down or just go down to give them information and to talk them through the proposal, so talking to them about what their monthly utility bill is and how it's going to increase over the next 30 years. And you can talk to them about their solar design. From here, you can click in to have those same attributes that we spoke about. So you can toggle on a radiance, you can toggle on the sun path, you can show them setbacks, you could toggle the modules on and off. It gives you different functionality with this. And then from here, gives you information about your storage that you're selling them. And then again, and as Jason suggested, you can put this at September to really help demonstrate that. Go down. This talks about, this is the environmental page. Some customers really like to see this to understand the positive impacts of going solar. And then this talks to them about their financing options and how they can apply now. And then this is helpful just understanding their pre and post solar bills. And then information on their system summary. And then this last page gives you information on how to get in touch. Because I'm not a system on your user, this information didn't pull through. So let's say that the homeowner says, this is great, I'd like to think about it. You can actually share this proposal with them. And you can either enter in their email address, or you can enter in their email address, and I'm just going to actually view this. So this looks very similar to the same experience that you had within sales mode. But the one thing to call out is that those icons at the top will not be there, and you can't actually make any edits on this. And the only option is to follow up for information. All right. And then once you're back here, let's say that the customer decides, and you can also download a PDF if you wanted to.
Actually,
And let's say, oh, sorry.
I'm so sorry. I think, guys, if this proposal, everybody sells differently. Sometimes we have what's called TMI, too much information. And in that proposal, if it has that bit of TMI, download it as a PDF, as Laura just said. And then when you go to print it out, you can exclude the pages you don't like and then share it with your client. That's the path I take, and it's been very beneficial for me.
And actually, we actually make it easier for you. So you just hit that hamburger in the top right, and you can actually edit and toggle pages on and off.
Oh, see?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that slow pitch. I appreciate it. And also there are different templates that you have depending on who you're selling with. So they might be adding a different template for TPO, for example. So let's say that the customer says, great, I want to sign. You can just go to documents here, and you can send an agreement to the customer depending on which document is appropriate. You would just hit select, and I'm not actually going to walk through this, but you would then put in the homeowner's name, email, etc., and then hit continue, have an opportunity to review that contract, and then send that off to those different homeowners. And one last thing, you can also access this from the project dashboard under documents. So you can also send the agreements from right here.
Really nice.
All right.
One thing just to toss in there, guys. Sometimes there's a little bit of a disconnect between, when we're in the dashboard view of the project versus when we go into sales mode, because there is a little bit of a separation there, right? So just want to kind of show that one more time. If she clicks into design one, under sales mode. It takes her back into sales mode. And I think the other part that's a little bit tricky when we're first getting the hang of this is understanding that we're really landing on the sort of, when we're starting this, right, from scratch, we're landing on an incomplete proposal. So it'll pull this up, right? But if none of this stuff was filled out, if we didn't have a site design, if we didn't have panels placed, all this stuff would be blank. So if you jump into sales mode and you're kind of like, okay, now what? Just remember that the top 5 symbols at the top of the screen there, that's going to be your workflow. That's confirming your energy usage. That's, going through AI, et cetera. So just remember, like when you jump into sales mode, step 1, make sure you're going through those steps one by one, and that'll kind of guide you. So just wanted to reiterate that point. And type in any questions you guys have in the chat. We're happy to do a little Q&A as we have time, but just wanted to kind of put that in there as well.
And one other thing I wanted to add about that is I'll give you guys a 1-page PDF that walks you through the steps that you need to take when you're doing this. And also Aurora Academy has a really quick, and I'll highlight this in the email that I'll send out. Also, Aurora Academy has a really quick 5-minute video that walks you through this, done by our own person on this call, Jason Miller. And then one other thing that just wanted to call out is that let's say that you want to give this customer a few different options of design. Okay, so you wanted to look with what it looks like here, but maybe you wanted to show them what it looks like having all the modules on this side of the house. So you wanted to give them 2 different designs. No big deal. You would just go back to the project overview and you would just select create a new design or create a new design here. And so this enables you to give the customer different designs should they want to have those and different options. So, as Jordan spoke about having 1 battery versus 2, you could show them that in a different design, or you could do it live. It's really whichever, as Brandon said, it's all about your selling preference. All right. Any questions, things that we can help answer?
We actually have a live question from Daniel Coleman. He says, hey, Aurora team, we often get an error code that says invalid pre-utility rate error on Edison, even though it is a valid rate plan. What is the best fix for that?
Is that coming from when you're using a specific TPO provider?
That's a great question. I'm unsure, but I have seen this error code, and typically what I do is utilize that Aurora chat feature. We let them know what that error code is, and they've been pretty good about delivering the next step solution.
Yeah, that's what I would recommend as well too. I think it's always worth double checking the solar rate that's being pulled in. Clearly, it sounds like you are kind of vetting that right now. So if you're still seeing that error message, you're sure that the selected utility rate is on that approved list, then just reach out to support and we should be able to work through it.
Great question.
Thanks for a very comprehensive demo, Laura. I think that was great, just showing the way that the professional users would do it. But again, there's the thing that I love about Aurora, and as you probably saw, like you can do a lot with a little. If you do take the time to put in the detail and the effort, you're going to get a better result out of it. But you can also get away with coming in here and saying, all right, slap those panels on the roof, see what the offset is, and yeah, have an excellent result. Yeah, even with not days of preparation or anything.
Anything else? Any other errors that people are experiencing that we can help with?
Yeah, as anything that can't be answered by the live chat, obviously, as we mentioned early on, live chat's going to be your great go-to resource for errors you encounter in the wild.
I see a question from Dale in the chat here. Okay, so discharge data for peak time under NBT or net billing tariff, auto-based on manufacturer, like all systems offered include this. I think what we're talking about is under the energy arbitrage operating mode. Is Aurora, does it have a logic where it knows where to export in order to return like the highest yield of savings? Yes, it does. And that's what we saw when we were jumping to that month of September. In California, there's basically a huge matrix that has been created by the CPUC for all of the major utility providers that show what the export compensation rates are for every hour of the day and every month of the year. And there's like a money zone for all 3 providers. It's like September between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m., depending if it's Southern California Edison or PG&E, for example. And so what we saw in that example when we jumped to September is the battery held on to state of charge, or it held on to capacity, and actually the homeowner was pulling from the grid from like 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then it went full tilt discharge at 8 p.m. to try to maximize savings, because that was that hourly block when it's the most advantageous. I think the utilities pay homeowners like $3 a kilowatt hour, which is, huge compared to other intervals. They're paying like 2 cents a kilowatt hour. So it is building in that logic in this net billing tariff paradigm.
And it is going to be specific to the battery manufacturer that you've chosen, like each of them, because you guys have all the data sets and everything.
Exactly. It's factoring in the utility or the homeowner's energy consumption. It's looking at the type of PV system that you built, the equipment that's being utilized. It's looking at the electrical and mechanical parameters of that battery, and all of that stuff is being baked in.
So it's not just wishful magical thinking.
Yeah. And that's why it's interesting to jump from month to month too, because you're not going to see that same type of functionality in like a January through April. It's really like September is like the most important month to show, because that's where those utility providers are basically compensating like 10 times what they normally would.
Yeah, and I think one thing that probably more people are aware of how NEM 3 works now as a homeowner. Maybe some people still don't really understand or necessarily care, and they're just going to say, yeah, okay, cool, like it saves me money, awesome. But if you get somebody who's really, really technically oriented and wants to know, like, okay, are you sure? Then yeah, that's a great way to drill into that and say, yeah, no, we did all the math. It's all baked in.
Yep.
Then there was a question about updating the pricing for the battery, and that was something that the team will do on the back end. But please just remember, for battery pricing, if you are using TPO, that needs to be baked into the cost that you're selecting for that, for the pricing. It will not come over and pass over as a specific adder. Michael had a question about why do we cap out at 30K? It's because we've determined at that point that the system is large enough to be considered commercial, and that there are specific requirements that are based around it. And so Aurora doesn't support systems that size under residential. We do have a different tool where you can build it as a commercial project.
Also, just to jump in there too, I think that's more related to the auto designer functionality, where Aurora will place the panels for you. If it truly is a residential, property based on their meter type and whatnot, and you need to build a system over 30K, what you can always do is reach out to our support team. They should be able to go there. They'll utilize design mode, and they can build a larger system for you as well too. So, but again, yeah, it depends on the property type, and if you ever run into that, just reach out to our support team.
Great.
That's
and then the
awesome.
last question was about TPO not updating from one rate to the other. I think it would be lovely, and I'm sorry to ask for this, but when you experience that error, if you could record it and share that with us, or let us know the projects that you're experiencing on that. It's sometimes hard for the team to troubleshoot things that they don't see. And so that would be great. And, there's a lot of other factors in there, like bandwidth, et cetera, of your internet, if you're on a Zoom call, all those type of things do sometimes affect.
And one little like tip or hack that I always recommend, just refresh your browser tab. Sometimes that just like that's the last little nudge it needs to make sure that it pulls in the updated numbers. So if I'm ever making a change to either a financing provider or individual financing product, I just refresh the browser tab just to make sure that we're clearing the cache and we're pulling in the most recent inputs.
And
Yeah.
also
we've experienced that quite a bit of times. I've seen it personally. Just a tidbit as well. If you're toggling between two different types of financing types, so let's say cash and then TPO and then a loan, we actually need to pull different data that shows different production. So the numbers are going to come up different. Not everybody looks at the system exactly the same way. If it's a third-party owned system, their validation and yield is different than, or sun hours, if you guys know that old term, is going to be slightly different. So if you're moving really quickly, like I do within the system, it's going to bog it down, and you're not going to get that change of if you're changing from 0% escalator to a 2.9 or to another lender. So again, use that tidbit of just refresh, let it reload, choose another lender, and it'll probably move a lot quicker for you.
The other thing I was going to say is Aurora plays much better with Google. So please use Chrome as your browser instead of Safari. Like, please, please, please.
And don't be like me and have 75 Google Chrome tabs open. Don't do that.
One other
That's
thing,
normal.
yeah, we've all been there. One other thing that I wanted to call out, just going back to when Laura was hitting that finalize button when she had, put the panels on the roof, the initial estimation of the energy production was at 102%. I don't know if folks saw that, but when she ran the official performance simulation engine, I think it dropped down to 96. Couple of reasons why. Laura said that we were doing a much more in-depth performance simulation analysis. And the other thing is that because it automatically added those microinverters to the system, it's factoring in like inverter clipping, DC to AC conversion loss, and things like that. So when there's updated equipment and we rerun that simulation, you might see a delta. So it's just something where if it's really important for this homeowner to achieve something above 100% offset, just make sure that you look at that number, and we'll see this right now. It was 102. I believe it went down to 96. So it's just kind of like a little mental checkpoint to be like, oh, maybe I do need to add another couple of panels because we want to bump this thing back over 100 when including additional equipment such as the microinverters.
Yeah.
Is that something that you guys, and maybe this is just sort of a group discussion topic, but do you guys track like how many are sold at like 120, 125? I mean, the cap is obviously 150, but do you guys have any data on that ever since NEM 3 versus like historically, or
I mean,
how do you track it?
I don't know. Unclear on the tracking side of things. We're pretty heavy on analytics, so we could definitely try to see, what data is out there. But
Yeah.
it's probably geo-specific. So specific to California. I mean, the feedback I get most often as the most popular range is like 110 to 120 is probably
Sure.
the offset that I see the most, especially within Southern California.
Yeah. Cool. Okay.
To Jason's point, before we go into this, I think it's great that you don't start proposing how many panels and how much power until you figured out which lender you want to lean on. Maybe load that first, then come back to this design page, because nothing hurts more than saying, I had you at 20 panels, now we got to go to 22. That changes things. So slow down to speed up.
Awesome. And just to reiterate in the last couple minutes here, Aurora Academy is always there for you guys. Highly recommend that Sales Mode 101 training. And the rest is just going to be repetition. Find out what parts of this really speak to you in your sales process. Some people like to present a proposal, but it's really important to know, how to navigate this if and when objections come up or you need to make a change or whatever. But the cool things about this tool that make it spectacular is the interactive kind of nature to it. So, really fully understanding what it means to toggle something in 3D to zoom in on a home, take a customer on a really cool spin around the house, let them see the design, show them the sun path, and show them what a radiance is. And that type of stuff builds a ton of value because, if they're seeing other proposals out there and it's done with any other platform, it's just not going to be even close to the same experience. And you guys are going to notice how much this tool helps speed up your velocity within your sales cycle. So just understand the implications there too. So that's pretty much the only last things I wanted to touch on personally. And just to thank you guys again for the time today and the attention and the questions.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean to that point too, like don't be afraid to get your hands dirty in the tool. Like play around with it, know how to do the spin around the tour, the sun path like we showed on here, because all of those will be super, super valuable and just again elevate your expertise with the homeowner out in the field. I still remember back in the old day, we used to take a little screen grab of the panels on the roof and print them out. That's terrible. Don't do that anymore.
The, and remember too, once you create, you're working with the homeowner, you create a house, or even the ESP team might have like a design that you can work on, and everybody can just add a new design and play in the tool, run Aurora AI, etc., and that won't charge any additional credits. So that might be something that I suggest, is that you have like demo or test, and then people can just go on it, play, see how it goes, etc.
Yeah.
You could even
and
let the homeowner do it themselves. Yeah, go ahead, Brandon.
live inside that one lead. If you have an issue or something came up in that lead, there's no reason to create another one to try to fix it. We can fix what's already in there. It's usually, I hate to say it, but user error, and we can point you in the right direction.
In my case, it usually is user error.
It is,
Just
Andy.
saying.
It is.
Right. Well, thank
Awesome.
you. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Anything else? Anybody out there?
No, that was
Ooh, we
thorough.
got an
Thank you
anonymous
so much,
attendee.
guys.
Do change orders go through the Aurora system too? Change orders will come directly to us and we can manage them for you. Use this resource hub or the Energy Service Partners hub, and we can help you guys with those.
Yeah, everything good on our side. We're always here to support. And yeah, I think we all know you've got a great team over there, guys, with Andy and everybody. And so just appreciate the time today.
Yeah, everything that we've done here is also in Aurora Academy, so make sure you've signed up for that, review those training videos and all that, and yeah, just get in there, just start playing around with it. So it is a extremely powerful tool. As Fabio said, it is epic. I 100% agree. So yeah, let's make the rest of the year epic with Aurora.
Awesome. Thanks,
Let's
everybody.
go.
Happy
See you,
weekend.
everybody. Thanks
Laser
for
beams.